I'm getting closer and closer. I always seem to be leaving it to the very last minute to press the button and then go live. Am I doing that intentionally? I think I might be. How's it going, Tasty Basey? Okay, I'm just doing my sound check, making sure my live stream is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. And if that's actually working, that's great news. We might even try my face. If the face can work out and YouTube doesn't freak out and my system doesn't freak out, that's awesome. So we're going to talk about adventuring gear. For those of you who might be completely confused by the title and the image that I put on the thumbnail. How's it going, Matt? Andri, hello, F Hubba's here. How's it going? Look, I will put the start time for this video down in the description once I do what? Once published by YouTube. I'm getting rid of this because I can actually hear myself. I'm trying to respond to myself. It's kind of strange. So Andrea. Okay, Andrea. All right. I've got it. I think I've got it. That's good news. All right. So look, I will put the start time down in the description. You'll let me know if the video or the sound is sucky in some way before I start, because there's time to do so, right? If there's any sort of laggy issues or the video footage is getting a little bit wacky, you'll put your thumbs up and say, Fred, there's a problem. And I will sort that out as quickly as I possibly can. Now, if you haven't been part of my live streams before, I'm making all of my live streams unlisted. So that means you can only get to them through the notifications, or if you are a patron, I put the videos together and I send them over to my patrons to watch later on if they want to, so they get all the Q&A. But I do an edited version of this later on for those of you who might not be able to hang around for the whole thing. Please feel free to ask questions, because at the end of my presentation, that's when I open it up for questions and answers, and I will talk to you. Surprisingly, I will do that. It does happen. In fact, it happens pretty much every single day. So I will do the same thing today. All right, let's get sensible. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5e. And the topic for today is where to shove that Piton. Where to hammer that Piton in Dungeons & Dragons 5e. That's what I should be saying, right? Not the other thing that I just said. Sorry about that. Okay, so what can you use the Piton for in Dungeons & Dragons? This is basically like a spike with a loop through it or a hook through it, and you feed rope through it, and it's usually used for... What is it used for? It's used for securing things. Oh, that's right. We've been here before. You can use it to create an anchor in rock or stone when you're climbing whatever it is. And then, of course, you use some ropes and a harness. We've been through that before. Of course, it's part of the climber's kit in Dungeons & Dragons 5e. It's part of any climber's kit, I would imagine. It would be ridiculous not to have some sort of anchoring point. What else can we actually use it for? Because that's really obvious, right? Well, you can take that Piton and you can shove it into a lock and then cast enlarge on it to break it open. Hang on, does that even work? Can you cast enlarge on a stationary object? You might need to negotiate with somebody on that one. It sounds like a cool idea, but in any case, if you shove the Piton into the lock and it does fit, there's a good chance you might be able to break the lock. Got a hammer and a Piton, break the lock, jam the lock up, or just generally just create a big whole bunch of problems for whatever. So jamming a lock means that you should be able to make sure it stays closed so that while the enemy is trying to chase you down and butcher you, you can escape. So very sensible. Let's jam the lock. What about those doors? This came up quite a lot. When I was asking the Dungeons & Dragons community on Facebook, this was one that used to come up constantly. And the idea was that you would pin the door with the Piton to either keep it closed while you were having a long rest or a short rest or some sort of rest so that things could not get into the room, and you would spike them into the floor, or depending on the way the door will open, and hopefully your dungeon master is not that pedantic. But if it's opening into the room, easy to pin the door. If it opens out, very difficult, because you've got to pin the door from the outside. You're going to be on the inside. So that's really not going to work. But you can also pin the door open so the door can't close, because apparently some doors in Dungeons and Dragons want to just close on you for some strange reason. I don't know why. Seems to happen a lot though. Okay, let's get on to traps. Let's think about what can we do with a piton with regard to a trap. Indiana Jones deals with a lot of pressure plates. And of course you can get the bag of sand and try to estimate the exact weight and so forth when you're trying to get your statue and so. But would it not have just been easier to get a piton and wedge that piton between the pressure plate and the rest of the structure to disable it, so that now the floor or trigger or pressure plate no longer can move? So there's another reason to have your piton, another way you can use it in your game. You can also use the sharp end of the piton to loosen a knot in a rope. So you tie a knot too tight, and maybe you've knotted your entire rope so it's easier to climb, and then the dungeon master says, oh, now how are you going to get the knots undone? And you say, well, I'm just going to undo them. And they say, no, they're too tight, you can't get them undone. So I have a piton, I'll use that and stick that between the rope to loosen it up. And they're like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. Maybe you can get that one to swing by. There's always a chance, right? What about using your piton as an improvised dagger or a weapon? Why not? There's lots of possibilities here. Honestly, there's plenty of possibilities here. You can use your piton to secure a rope zip line to cross a wide gap or chasm. So piton each end, particularly if you don't have a mounting point, something you can tie the rope around, and you actually have to secure it into some rock or some stone or something like that. Just remember, at each end, it is always best to use at least 3 pitons, not just 1 piton, 3 at each end as a backup, just in case. The fact that you are heavily laden and wearing armor, and make sure only one person crosses at a time, otherwise it's going to be a bit problematic. If you have a big chunk of ice that you need to chip off bits and pieces from it, or you want to chip off ice to get through a frozen door, well, there you go. A hammer and a piton, and you're away. And the great thing is that once you've finished doing that, you have a whole lot of ice for a nice cool drink later on. You can use your piton to create a center point in a piece of metal so that you can punch a hole through it. Okay, or what's even better, let's use the piton to actually punch a hole in a wall in a room if it's filling with water. You know the water trap room. It's a pretty obvious one. Get the piton, get the hammer, and you bash a hole in the wall, creating a location for the water to drain out. Make sure you put the hole at the bottom of the wall, not up the top. Down the bottom, not up the top. You can use your piton for hanging pictures on the walls. You can use it for securing your tent lines in a storm so it doesn't blow away. There's lots of things that can be blown away in a storm, and certainly I'd go with something like that. Piton, secure it down. Bedding, secure it down, can't blow away in the wind. Things like that. You can use 2 pitons and a rope to make a trip line. So secure it, both ends, somebody walks along, not paying attention, trips over the rope, fall on their stomach or their face, and now they're prone, and then go up to them and smack them on the back of the head and knock them out. Or other things if you like. There are plenty of possibilities there. You can use it for hanging up a hammock between 2 trees. Of course, don't leave the hammock there for too long, otherwise it's probably going to rot and be absolutely useless to you in the future, and therefore when you do go to actually use it, it will fall apart. You can use a piton to chip or carve inscriptions or instructions or writing into stone. So you could type in here, Bob the Destroyer was here, or Bob the Destroyer was not here, something like that. Instructions on stone, piton and a hammer, and you're away. that pesky vampire, and you found the coffin, you found the vampire, he's having a sleep, and it's time to deal with him, and suddenly you realize you do not have a wooden stake. And you don't want to go and look for a wooden stake later on. So you get out your piton. You know the piton going through the heart, it's not going to kill it. It's not made out of wood. You don't want to wake him up. So you just close the lid, you get out your hammer and your pitons, and you nail the vampire's coffin shut while you go and find a chair leg or something like that and come back, sharpen it up with your sword or a dagger, and then make yourself a stake and then stake that sucker. So another really useful way of dealing with the vampire with your pitons. Just hold them in place for a little while until you get back. You can use it to increase leverage with a crowbar. So you put it between whatever you're trying to crowbar up or out or whatever, and it isn't going to wear away the stone or rock there because it's made out of metal. The only thing it's likely to do is bend, but it will certainly help you increase leverage. Pretty obvious, we've done this sort of thing before. You can tie them together to make a wind chime. Now, why would we want that? Well, if there's a wind, then it makes a noise, and it might scare people away, and they sound kind of cool. A wind chime could also be put up, and then you use a string line and use it as part of an alarm system, so that if somebody tries to creep up on you while you're sleeping or in a campsite, there's a chime used and created. I mean, you could use a bell, but you can use your pitons. Just tie a few of them together and then just hang them. Okay, you can tie the piton to a rope. Well, hang on. So tie it to a rope, then throw it down the passageway, and then once you've thrown it down the passageway, drag it along the ground so that it will trip all of the traps that are sitting along that passageway without having to go down there. And it gives you a lot longer length, more than 10 foot. You don't have to worry about using the 10-foot pole now because, guess what? You've increased your range by using a different tool. You can use it to open up a crack or something in rock, brick, stone walls. You need to get a bit of a hole in there, so you put your piton in there, whack it with a hammer, and then break off some of the rock, brick, stone, and make a bigger hole. And that's just to open up that crack. For who knows? Coins might have fallen down that crack for all you know. Just if you need to get into a crack. So it can open up a crack. And make it easier for you to find or create handholds or footholds if you need to climb up a surface, and it's not going to be possible to actually just pound the piton straight into a solid piece of rock, and so you have to rely on just using the cracks that are available in the natural formation, something like that. Yeah? Okay. What about using it to anchor a pulley for lifting heavy objects? Yes, absolutely. If there's nothing you can hang your pulley system over, then so be it. You're going to anchor it with your pitons. Remember, you need to use quite a few pitons, otherwise it will fall and come crashing down and things will not go well. Or you can, we've talked kind of about turning your piton into a weapon with a rope, but why not tie your piton to a rope and make yourself a rope dart and go scorpion on your enemies. Come over here. And you can hook them, pull them in, tie them up, shave them if you need to, kill them, knock them out, those sorts of things. So there are quite a few different ways you can use your piton in the game of Dungeons and Dragons, or even Dungeons and Dragons 5e. And I'm hoping that you found this video helpful, and if you did, fantastic. I have hundreds of videos for players and dungeon masters with lots of different advice, and I recommend going and checking out one of those at some point. If you want to support the channel, so I keep doing videos like this, then make sure to check out my Patreon, where you get access to the live streams that go unlisted, additional content, and priority on the topics that I make. I also have affiliate links to the book depository and Amazon down in the description. That all supports the channel, so I keep doing this. I also have a merchandise shelf underneath the video if you want to check out some of that stuff. And hey, make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos, and that happens quite a bit as it happens. Until next time, keep rolling those 20s. I'm not gone. I just need to grab my glasses and a drink of water. I thought I had cleared my throat out, but a little bit of the winter lurg still hanging about. So I do apologise if I started to sound like I was about to lose my voice, because I kind of was, actually. Hard to get that stuff to shift sometimes. Okay, here we go. So glasses are on. I'll bring back my face. Let's have a look at the chat, see what we've got. And there I am. I'm back. All right, you got my face. Let's have a look what we've got here. Oh, there's a whole bunch of people to hear today. Now, I am really interested if somebody has got a better idea. Have I missed anything with regard to the Piton? And I'm sure somebody's going to say it's a French word and it's not pronounced that way, it's pronounced this way. I don't give a toss. Truthfully, I don't give a toss. If we're going to go into the tomato thing, I'm not really in the mood. But if you have questions around the Piton, that's the spiky thing for climbing, then certainly let's have a talk about that. If you have questions unrelated to the topic, it doesn't matter. I will talk about those anyway. I have time before I have to get organised for the next video. Yes, by all means, have a chat with me. This is your opportunity. Better to do it live than to do it in the comments section, I always say. All right, so we've got Tasty Basie, we've got Matt's here. Andrea is here, Fred is here, Scott is here. Okay, I'm actually playing, not DMing, in my first one-shot today. Made a Fiend Warlock. Oh, did you? Interesting. Is your Fiend Warlock going to have Pitons? I hope so. Make sure you bring them. How's it going, big kid? A Piton is basically just a spike. I mean, I did explain what it was. It's a spike, it's a metal spike with a hole in it that allows you to run rope through it. And pretty easy, not hard to figure out. Okay, what else we got here? Matt. Matt's having a good laugh. Oh, good, I'm glad. If I've been funny, then I have achieved something, haven't I? You could use 2 pitons and a rope to make a tripwire. Yeah, I wasn't going to say tripwire because the assumption is that if you're using rope, then it's thick and you would require wire. But you certainly could use 2 pitons and a piece of wire, a very thin, hard to see wire, rather than a piece of rope. But a trip line, you certainly could with a piece of rope and piton. So a tripwire, yes, absolutely, you could do that. What is it? Fred's going on about a spool of silk thread for the tripwire. Exactly. It's got to be something that's thin and light and not easy to see. Otherwise, it's not going to work very well, right? Okay. Tasty Basie. Put a piton in someone's pocket and use a spell to heat it up. Yes, the thing is, it's very situational. Somebody did actually mention that, Tasty Basie, and I didn't put it down on my list because I felt like there's a lot going on here. Because one, you've got to be able to heat it up, and to be able to heat it up, normally you have to be able to see what you're heating with that spell. And if it's in somebody's pocket, a bit difficult. And if you have it in your hand and you heat it up and then you put it into somebody's pocket, well, you're going to get hurt as well. So I'd left that alone. I believe somebody had also suggested using a piton as a monster toothpick, which, I mean, I could have put it in there. I suppose it would have been funny, but I decided to leave it out. Anyway. Pearsham, how's it going? Piton is a thing for rock climbing. Yes. Yes, it can be used for many different things. Remember, just because we use it for one thing doesn't mean it can't be used for something else. I like the alarm idea. Yes, I thought the alarm idea wasn't too bad, actually, which is why I wrote it down. Drive the piton into an orc's forehead. Yeah, well, I suppose you could, but I mean, relieving pressure. I know what you're going with this. Somebody had suggested using it for lobotomy. But again, more said in jest than anything else. What's that, Matt? I know one thing. Marisha better watch the video. She will go Piton crazy. I doubt it. That ball bearing video did pretty well. But to be fair, I think it's less a response to... I mean, I got a lot of likes on those videos, on those adventure videos, when I used Sam's face and Marisha's face and so forth. A lot of people watch them, but it's because they recognize the people and they're wondering what's that about, rather than my topic. And then of course they watch the topic and they think, oh, okay, it's not bad. So they hang around. At least it got them to watch the video in the first place. Thank you, Pierre Sham. If I rock, then I'm doing something right. And hopefully, if I rock, somebody won't nail a Piton into me. Will, how's it going, Will? Will Vort. I'm never going to get that surname right. I feel like the G is silent. Vort. Will Vort. Fred, love your videos. Glad to catch you live again. Awesome, Will. I like it when I actually manage to catch people live. And in fact, seem to have caught quite a few people today, which is awesome. Cheers. Nice idea. Great. I'm glad you liked it. Hi, Corey. How's it going? Very informative. You have earned my sub. Corey, if I've earned you a sub, I love that. That's good news. And, if you like this video, share it with other people. The more people you share my videos with, the better. Most of the people who find me are through Google search. Rather than through other means. I am not big enough to get recommended on the top end for Dungeons and Dragons watchers. People who are looking for Dungeons and Dragons content, I usually don't get recommended. So they usually find me through Google search. So share my videos with people who you think might find them useful. Okay. How do you handle fire on a ship? How does it spread damage to the ship? How can the PCs put it out 1 square per round? Look, you're talking about a lot of different things that you can just figure out yourself. There are no definitive rules regarding how to handle your ship burning. And if you start trying to create a whole lot of mechanics around that to deal with how it spreads and how fast it spreads, you're going to make life really difficult for yourself. My suggestion to you is that it takes about 1.5 minutes for a 10-foot by 5-foot couch made of very combustible material to burn. So that means that the players really have quite a lot of time to deal with something that's a ship that's probably got wet wood. Ships don't burn very quickly because they are wet and all the timber is already quite moist, so they're going to burn very slow. They will burn, but you have to be burning the right thing, and wood doesn't burn well. The sails, as long as the sails aren't wet, they will burn quite quickly. Rope that isn't wet won't burn very quickly, but if it's dry, it will. So there's a lot of different things coming in. So I would suggest be more narrative in your description of the burning boat rather than worrying about specific mechanics in terms of speed and how much damage it will do to the ship per round and how many squares it will affect. You're going to make life really difficult for you. Fred doesn't give a toss. That's right. I'm a tosser. I mean, I'm giving things a toss. Joe, how's it going, Joe? 85 degrees here, Fred. Feels like 90. Oh, wait, you use Celsius, don't you? Yes, that's right. That's right. It's heating up here. It is getting warmer. I'm glad. It will get really wet very shortly, and then I'm going to really have some fun. I'll be warm, but I'll be wet. Okay, well, what do you got here? Just joined in on the live stream, so missed your point and uses of the Piton, but on the fly can see how it could be useful as an improvised weapon. Yep, I suppose you could. Look, well, all of these videos come out as an edited version now. All of my backlog pretty much is gone with the live stream content, so everything you're getting is just what I do the live streams on now. And you will eventually get some pre-recorded video content that I've edited down, but that's a much slower process. Like I said, for every video that you make, there's about 10 hours of work to put in to actually do all of the editing and all the other bits and pieces to go with it. That doesn't even count the time it takes to actually shoot the video. That's why people only put up about one video that's really, really simple per week. And those people who are doing it full time, they still only do one video. Okay, heat metal. Yep. I know where you're going with heat metal. Fred's playing the clickbait game. I'm also playing the clickbait and poke fun and take the piss out of as many different things as I possibly can. Because if I'm going to have to do clickbait to get people to watch my stuff, which is actually not bad, then I'm going to have some fun with it. And I couldn't help myself. Johnny Depp was just waiting. I was trying to think, what image can I use? And I thought, oh, Johnny Depp, thank you very much. You just showed up at just the right time. What's that, Scott? Best time to hammer the Piton in is for getting down up cliffs at low levels because before levitate and fly can make, yeah, it's exactly. At low levels, really, the climber's kit is really important because you do not want to have to fall too far. And of course, if you use a climber's kit and you're using pitons and your harness, you can only fall a certain distance, which means that really you're only ever going to be taking 2 6-sided dice worth of damage unless your dungeon master decides they're also going to include a 4-sided dice for the other 5 foot of distance you fall. Anyway, that's all right. Well, that's the thing, Pesham. I am hard-earned subs. I got to put in the hard work to make it work. It just seems to be the way. But as long as people are finding these videos useful, and as long as people are sharing them, and I would like to think that if you're a dungeon master, you'll share them with your players so they will use these ideas. Certainly, if you're open to some of them, and if you are a player, share it with your players so that they've got a few more tactics and tricks up their sleeve, rather than just looking at, we're going to have to climb it with the climber's kit. That's what that's for. I don't have the right spell for that. So let's move outside of whatever we see that's immediately obvious on our character sheet. There are probably mechanics for it in somewhere in 3.5 book. Yeah, well, there probably is for burning ships, but as I said, I would just ignore it. It isn't really worth it. It's going to be a bit of a joke if you ask me, and it's the kind of number crunching. Look, if that's the sort of thing you like, then check that out, but it's not something I'm likely to go over. What do you got here, Joe? Fred, are you getting any of the new WizKids boosters set coming out this month? I have 8 boxes pre-ordered myself, and they look really good. Joe, the thing is, I don't make any money. You know, what money I am making doesn't cover all of my costs. So eventually I will run out of savings, and when I run out of savings, then I'm going to have to try something else. And I'm getting closer and closer to that. So when that happens, then if I do get a job, that'll probably be the end of my channel. So let's hope I get where I need to be before that happens. I have contacted WizKids, and they were very eager to send me stuff. And then they found out what my address was, that I was in New Zealand, and decided that they would just send it through one of their importers or their subsidiaries. That's never happened. So smaller channels in America could probably get their stuff reviewed and shown on their channels. For example, I believe that Nerd Immersion will probably get a whole bunch of stuff, and a few other channels be able to display all that. But I can't get it done because I'm in New Zealand. They won't send anything to me. Really, the only people who've been willing to send me stuff have been Gale Force 9, and they don't deal with the WizKids boosters. I'll have to be drawing a much bigger collection of individuals. What I will do is, I believe they are now currently available, so I will put up a link to it on the community tab. Thank you, Fred, for the advice, and I am amazed the time you take to answer or comment all the comments. Really like your videos, and I hope that you will come out bigger soon. Yeah, me too. I really do hope so too. Otherwise, it will be the end of my channel. I can keep up with the comments only just right now. There is a point now where some of the people who are making comments in my videos, it's kind of nonsense stuff, and so I have just ignored that. But I do try, to keep up with things, but I'm available like every day. So the live streams is where I want people to engage with me rather than me typing up in the chat, in the comments section down below in a video. I would much prefer you have a more direct route to me than through comments. Well, making clickbait videos is just metagaming, or some metagaming isn't bad. That's based on my Hairy Balls metagaming video. I suspect you're pulling it from there. Zerico, hang up a shelf, put up a nice picture of yourself, favorite goblin. Make a disadvantage grapple hook with... Yeah, I don't think a grappling hook with a piton is a good idea. Go get a grappling hook. Get a real grappling hook. Don't use a piton and a piece of rope. Hammer a warning into a wall. That's right, you can hammer it into a wall. That's a bit scary. Hi, Sam. Sam Rains, how's it going? You mentioned the coffin and nailing it shut to restrain. The sleeping vampire could you restrain a monster in that way? Really enjoy your videos, by the way. Really helped get me into the game. Okay, cool. Well, Sam, it really depends on your dungeon master. I can't answer that question. It will depend on how your dungeon master runs the game. And if that's how if they're willing to go with that, then cool. I'm just trying to give you as many different options, not just for dungeon masters, but for players, so that you try different stuff. That you work outside of the square and the circle that you think has been created when you're playing your game. Persham, no players will know where to get all my original ideas from now. Well, I suppose they might, but the chances are, can I just say, that as a general rule, most videos that are quite long, I feel that players tend to not watch. I know dungeon masters spend far more time watching YouTube videos than their players, just because of all the prep time they have to do. As they're sitting down and prepping, they're watching a video or listening to what's being said as they go. I know that tends to happen. I know because I do it. What's that, Joe? I heard it from folks. It needs more patrons. More patrons is good. More people watching the videos is good too. Sam, that is with a rope and a hammer. Hammer it against a wall or something. Yep, fair enough. Corey, I found your stream in the recommended section while scrolling. Yeah, so Corey, so what I do to try to capture as many people, because I am still so small and there's so many big YouTube D&D channels now, this is why I do so many live streams, because the live stream, when it's coming up to the showtime, will get recommended in that section. But once it's done and dusted, that's it. It's gone. So that's why I do so many live streams, to try and pick up new audiences, more people. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to pick up quite so many. If I did just edited videos, the channel would die, and unfortunately, that does happen to a lot of us on YouTube. I am trying not to Persham. Okay, I am hanging in there and pushing as hard as I can, and I've worked really, really hard. Today is my last day of the week, and it'll be my weekend as of tomorrow. The next video. Now I need to get through here. What do we got here? I like that idea. Let's do that. Let's stick that in there. Yeah, good idea. Let's add that to there. For those people who wanted a bit of advice, yeah, you could actually try to use it to open up some manacles or handcuffs. If the hole is small enough, you get the piton and a hammer and bash it in there. It's a good idea. I did actually stick the image up there deliberately, but I didn't say anything about that, just because I kind of figured you would get the point anyway. Yeah, I don't drink, unfortunately. Persham, does anyone else play the HowtoDandD drinking game while watching the live streams, or is it just me? No, you're welcome to. You do your drinking game while you're watching my live streams. I have no problem. Joe, I have a screwdriver right now, so I guess I'm winning. Yeah, that's right. If you've got a screwdriver, you work. 18 people watching stream. That seems to be improving. It is. I think it's because it's becoming more regular, and that's sort of part and parcel of the whole process. So hopefully it creates momentum, and it generates more funds, and it'll be good. And then I can keep going. The The only problem I can see is at the rate that I'm going, I may well actually start running out of stuff to talk about. That's kind of cool. Or I might have to start doing some things that I said I would do that I haven't got round to doing. It's always a possibility. Gentleman's jack. Yes, you could use it as a gentleman's jack. Fred takes drinks, so we can too. Yeah, this is just water, by the way, not spirits. Could a Piton help to open up also handcuffs? Yep, we've got that. Never had. No, not too. Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about now. We're talking about something else. I am trying not to. I'm keeping in it. I'm trying to muscle it up. I am. Fred just sold a bunch of duplicate miniatures I don't need on eBay. I made enough to get that Gale Force 9 Red Dragon. Oh, did you? Wow. If I can just finish off what I said I would do for Gale Force 9 and do the completed videos. So all of the stuff I've painted for them, like the Xanatha miniature and the owlbear, once they are done, I'll do like a quick video showing it off, put it up on YouTube. If that drives enough views, then hopefully Gareth at Gale Force 9 will send me some more stuff if I ask for it. And of course, all of my painting gets done on my Twitch TV channel tomorrow and the day after, on my days off. Okay, I got the mission to share like crazy. That's the one, share like crazy. Hey, look, I need to get going. So the next video, for those of you who are wondering what I'm doing at 1 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time, so that's 1 p.m. today, New Zealand Standard Time, there is another video. And what is that going to be? Well, actually, the topic is Coneyberry and the Coneyberry encounter for the Lost Mine of Phandelver. I said I would talk about it, so it's time to foot it up and talk about. Now, I've already done a video on Agatha, but this is the Coneyberry encounter itself, so I will talk in detail about that particular topic. So thank you for everybody who showed up to the live stream. It's been wonderful. Make sure to, wherever you are in the world, look after yourself and your family and your friends, and I will see you in the next live stream. And till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Corey, that is about an hour and a half from now, the next live stream. Okay.